What's up, everyone? So today I'm out in the Lotus Evora. I've had it almost 3 months now, and I've had a ton of fun with it so far, driving it around. I use it pretty much as my daily. I have to put groceries and things like that inside of it. So it's been a phenomenal car so far. I absolutely love everything about it. But of course, every car is not going to be perfect. There's a few things that I'd say they're quirks. I don't really hate them, but there's things, at least for me, to point out. So today I'm going to go over the things that I kind of hate about this car. First up is the back seats. Now, while this is technically a 4-seater car, I really doubt I would ever be putting 4 people inside this car. It would make for a pretty funny video, I think, if I were to put 4 full-size people in this car. You really got to be, 6 or 7 years old to comfortably fit in the back seat. So that is a negative, not being able to put 4 full-size people in this car. But it's good for extra storage space, because number 2 is the rear trunk storage. I could probably fit like a backpack or 2. I know I can fit a skateboard in there. Anything that's kind of bulky or odd shaped would definitely not fit. So I don't have very much trunk space, if any at all, behind the engine. So having the rear seats is definitely a plus storage-wise. But again, I wouldn't be able to put anybody in the back seat. So if I didn't have the back seats, then my trunk space and interior storage space would be very bad. I wouldn't be able to pack hardly anything at all. Usually when I go home for the weekends, I have enough room in the back seats there to put everything that I need to take home with me. So again, having the back seats, great for storage because the trunk space is very limited. Next up, getting in and out of this car. I've mentioned it in previous videos before, trying to clear your feet to get in and out of the car. You kind of have to be kind of flexible, I guess you could say. You definitely have to get your knees pretty high up. That's probably where I need to go if I have the door open to get out. So it's definitely not getting into a normal car, that's for sure. It's kind of fun, you get used to it, of course, but again, it's just not getting into a normal car. This is a very, very, very minor issue here. The car does have an immobilizer on it, so if you unlock the doors and you don't turn the car on within about 30 seconds, you have to push on the immobilizer button in order to start the car. Now again, it's not like a huge deal or anything, but if you forget about it, sometimes I forget about it if I'm trying to plug in a GPS address or something like that, then you go to start the car, nothing happens. I've freaked out a little bit the first couple times because I did honestly forget about it, but now you have to remove the key fully, hit that immobilizer button, and then you can start the car. Next up is something that I think could go either way, and that is that this is my daily driver. Now that can be something that I absolutely love. It can also be something that I absolutely hate. And the reason that I don't like it is because I do have to take it every single place that I go. And sometimes I would rather be in a different vehicle. So like if I was going to the gym or I was going to some place that I wasn't familiar with, sometimes I don't want to bring that extra attention being in this car. So while I do get to drive it on a daily basis and go to the grocery store, the gym, things like that, it's definitely not the most practical car for those situations. So sometimes, I also have to figure out where I want to park too. So if I'm going to a place I haven't been before, I need to scope out where I'm going to park so I know that people won't park next to me. And this is kind of a funky point to bring up, but in front of my headlights or behind my headlights, there's actually a little thing that pops up when you do the windshield washer fluid that clean the headlights for you. I'm not a big fan of them. I really haven't seen them make that much of a difference, but I don't use my windshield washer fluid that often. I don't really need to sometimes, and I don't try not to take the car out in the rain. If I get stuck, of course I'm gonna be in it, but those little things that pop up, I mean, they're not obvious because they are black just like the headlights are, so you don't see them poke out, which is nice, but it's just something that, it's just a quirk to me. I don't really think they're effective. So I am glad they are well hidden and you can't see them, but to me, I don't know, I don't like them. One thing that can get a little annoying if I am using the rear trunk space for anything, or the battery is back there as well, so if I need to gain access to that, the shocks that come stock in this car are not the strongest. So when you have that rear gate open, they're not going to hold the trunk up all the time. Sometimes I get lucky and it will hold it up for the amount of time that I need to be back there. I did get my battery checked the other day, and when I was working on putting the battery cover back on, I had to rest the trunk on the back of my head because the shocks, they weren't working that time, unfortunately, so the trunk lid had to rest on the back of my head, which was not very fun, but that's an easy fix. You can get new shocks, or I can get new shocks for it. If I was to be back there a lot more, I would probably look more into that. But again, with that trunk space being so small, I hardly ever go back there. So it's not a big deal or a big issue for me. Maybe at some point I will look into replacing those shocks, but for now it's just something to point out, and hopefully I will be able to change those out at some point. The rear glass is the next point on the list, and as you can see, hopefully you can see that back there, it's not the largest. Visibility is great, however, I can definitely see a full lane worth of traffic behind me, and of course I can use my side mirrors to look out of that window as well. But the downside to that window is that from the outside, it has a very severe angle to it. And of course, there's no wiper blade or anything on the back. So when it rains out and when I'm stuck in the rain, the visibility is severely reduced. It does fog up a little bit. The glass that you actually see from the inside here is like a double pane glass, so it's pretty thick, of course, since the engine is right there to keep more heat out. But with the other glass, the outside glass, it does fog up a bit, so my visibility is again reduced. I can use my side mirrors, of course, but that window back there gets very narrow in the rain. And of course, being my only car, being my daily, if it is raining, I have no choice. I have to be in this car, whether it rains, snows, or whatever. So visibility is reduced a little bit. And last up is the navigation screen. I did opt for that. If you don't have the navigation, you just get a simple radio. You also don't get cruise control buttons on the steering wheel as well. So I have cruise control in this car, and I also have navigation with the backup camera. Now with that being said, it is a great system. It's an Alpine system, but the graphics are not the best. The navigation screen isn't very HD. It's not clear at all compared to the Genesis Coupe that I had or my brother's 370Z that I've been able to see, but it gets the job done. I'm not too into a lot of high-tech technology, I guess you could say, especially being in the Lotus. There's not much other than that. I do have air conditioning, which is a bonus, but again, the graphics on the screen, they're not the best. And I also have a backup camera. I think that is very helpful in this car since there are a few blind spots when you're backing up. Again, the graphics aren't the best. There's no lines or anything, or any detections to tell you, how close you are to something. I do have rear sensors though, which is nice. Those will of course keep me, from getting too close to an object. So the backup camera is definitely a plus. Again, the graphics, they're not too bad. Even at nighttime though, it works very well. There's lights up underneath the license plate there, which help your visibility at night, so that's great as well. So everything works, the backup camera and the navigation, it's all great, and I do use it a lot, so I'm glad that it's in the car, but again, the graphics are just not the greatest. So I hope you all enjoyed that video of some of the quirks of my Lotus Evora. I've definitely loved enjoying this car. I have no regrets in buying it. It's been so much fun. Hopefully later this year we'll get it out on the track, and of course do some more mountain adventures with the car and continue to keep having fun with it. Hopefully get the wrap going later this year, the full wrap. It may be sometime next year. A few other things I might do to it, so I'm definitely going to have fun with it while I have it. Again, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Be sure to give it the thumbs up if you did. click on that subscribe button down below so you can stay tuned for more videos on our channel, like our Facebook page, and follow us on Instagram. I'll see you all next video.